once already in October, hopefully at the end of this month by moving money around. But it's very difficult to do. Those are not inexhaustible funds. When it comes to SNAP, some of the Democrats have argued that you can use this contingency fund, but the truth is there's no legal mechanism to do it. Unlike with WIC funding that was attached to a 1930s era statute that was related to tariff funds because it was related to nutrition and food coming over the border, there's no such legal avenue to give SNAP funding now. It doesn't exist. The problem is the contingency and the authority to do that was voted down in the CR when the Democrats themselves did it. So the president has lamented this. He has informed USDA and everybody. So Chuck Schumer got a bunch of consultants and staff in a back room, and they concocted a plan, a political stunt, and they determined right then that the next time there was a funding measure, no matter how meritorious and no matter how much it would cause pain to the American people, that he would vote against it. He would show a fight to President Trump so he could save his political skin. It's exactly what happened. He did this so he could prove to his base that he's showing a fight. And as a result of this charade, he has brought the Democrats to their lowest point in decades. Literally, the Democratic Party has its lowest approval rating. Democrats in Congress have their lowest approval rating ever in the history of polling. The labor unions, working class Americans, independents are fleeing his party, and they are coming to the party of common sense because they see us here trying to solve these problems. They see us here voting over and over and over to fund the government and give them their paychecks, and they see the Democrats dug in against it. And now, Chuck Schumer is desperately trying to cling to power. Unfortunately, when you make decisions out of fear and political desperation, you have already lost control. And the new power center in the Democrat Party is one that should frighten every common sense American. The radical socialist wing is rising. It is led by people like AOC and Bernie Sanders. Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer know this. They're smart politicians in that way. They can feel the political winds, and they know that they have to continue to act belligerently in order to gain the favor of the far left. It's their own political survival that they had put in front of the needs of the entire country. Let me say that again. The Democrat leaders in the Senate and the House have put their own political survival in front of the needs of the American people. Exhibit A is Zohran Mamdani. New York City, America's largest city, the cradle of capitalism that has always been, is facing a real crisis right now. They've got a 34-year-old, unproven, untested socialist who looks to be the next mayor. He may well be elected. Mamdani winning New York City would be the biggest win for the Marxists, the socialists, in the history of this country. We have, to this point, in nearly 250 years, been able to hold off those kinds of ideas. We've been able to cling to the foundational principles of America, the ideas of individual freedom and limited government and the rule of law and peace through strength and fiscal responsibility and free markets and human dignity. All those things are in jeopardy when the Marxists take over. And it's the clearest sign yet that the Democrats' radical Marxist wing is winning the battle for control of their party. Look at where the energy is. This should be alarming to everyone around the country. Mamdani has, of course, called to defund the police, to abolish all prisons, to legalize prostitution. He lambasted the New York PD, the New York Police Department, as a racist system. And you might have seen, if you in the media are covering this, but there was a new video uncovered from 2023, just 2 years ago, and he said, quote, "We have to be clear, when the boot of the NYPD is on your neck, it's been laced by the IDF. Look, it's a unique talent to merge one's loathing for American law enforcement with their loathing for the Jewish people. But this guy's, he's managed to do it. New York is just the tip of the iceberg. It's not isolated to America's largest city. It's other cities as well. Look at Seattle, where the leading candidate for mayor is an open socialist. Look at Minneapolis, where the sitting socialist mayor is facing a challenge from his left flank. And look here in Congress, where we have our own wing of Marxist acolytes serving here. Amazingly, the media is criticizing Republicans for fixating on Mamdani. I read some of that yesterday. This socialist uprising is something that we have a responsibility to call out and sound the alarms. That's what elected representatives of the people are supposed to do, and we take that responsibility seriously. And obviously, Mamdani is a big issue here in the halls of Congress. Why? Because the second highest ranked Democrat in the country, Leader Jeffries, endorsed him. They're making Mamdani a mainstream Democrat now, and this party has left the people. Of course, the press wants us to ignore Mamdani. Here it's an embarrassment because most of the press is on the side of the Democrats. They don't want us to talk about that, but we have to. Because by endorsing Mamdani, Hakeem Jeffries has endorsed and co-owned his positions, his past statements, his Marxist playbook, and everything else that that guy espouses. And so too does every single House Democrat who will be inviting their leader, Jeffries, to their campaigns and to their districts next year. Every single one of them at every campaign stop should be asked, what do you think about Mamdani? What do you think about his positions? While House Democrats court Marxists in New York, Senate Democrats have chosen to shut down the government over a totally clean, nonpartisan CR. It's the first time in history, in the history of this country, that any party has done that, has chosen, had the audacity to shut the government down over a totally clean, nonpartisan funding measure. They're bowing to the demands of their far-left base, and no one can deny that. The facts are very clear. The American people are intelligent. They understand what's happening here. We pray that the Democrats, at least a handful of centrists, if there are any moderates left in the Democrat Party in the Senate, we pray that they will come to their senses and they will do the right thing by the American people, that they will stop all the pain and that they will reopen the government. As I mentioned on Saturday, things are going to become very dire. There is one way out of this, the easy way, the obvious way, and that is for the Democrats to do their job and vote for the CR. Now, I mentioned we brought some of our good friends and colleagues here from New York to talk about the mess that the Democrats have created in the Empire State. Now, why are we focusing on New York? Because, again, it's a bellwether for the rest of the nation. If you're watching at home, you need to understand the dynamics of what's happening in New York, because you have to ensure that it doesn't happen in your city, in your town, in your state. And these folks are watching this, and they're fighting it. Our Republicans in New York are trying to hold the line. They're trying to defend what is great about this extraordinary and exceptional nation that we have. But they have a lot of headwinds. And they're here to share how this reckless shutdown is impacting everyday New Yorkers. And I'm delighted to bring up to the podium, before we get our leadership reports here, one of my dear friends and colleagues and classmates back from the 115th Congress when we came in as freshmen together, Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, who is from the 22nd District of New York. She does an extraordinary job here for her state and for the country. I just want to thank again our colleagues from New York, LaLota and Lawler, Garbarino, Langworthy and Tenney. It's a difficult job to hold the line in that state, but they do it very, very well, and we're grateful they're there, and that there are so many common sense New Yorkers who still believe in freedom and in the greatness of America, and they keep sending us patriots like this to do the job. So we'll take a few questions. Yes, sir. Second row.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. During the last shutdown in 2019, it was the first Trump administration, and they made sure that in the second month of the shutdown, SNAP benefits would go out. They had them sent early. Why do you think they shouldn't do that this time?
Well, the president, this administration has done exactly what he did in the first term, and that is bend over backwards to make sure that we mitigate the harm. We explained here yesterday that any administration in a shutdown scenario has figuratively a control panel of pain dials. In the Obama administration, 2013, when they shut it down, they turned all the dials to 10. They wanted it to hurt, and so remember, famously, they put the yellow crime tape around the World War II memorial and prevented aging veterans from going and visiting these landmarks. They made it hurt. President Trump has done exactly the opposite. I mean, he's done everything he can. He's ordered all of his cabinet secretaries to mitigate the harm. So, for example, as you know, with WIC funding, they found a way to fund that with tariff revenue. We found a way to pay the troops once already in October, hopefully at the end of this month, by moving money around. But it's very difficult to do. Those are not inexhaustible funds. When it comes to SNAP, some of the Democrats have argued that you can use this contingency fund, but the truth is there's no legal mechanism to do it. Unlike with WIC funding that was attached to a 1930s-era statute that was related to tariff funds because it was related to nutrition and food coming over the border, there's no such legal avenue to give SNAP funding now. It doesn't exist. The problem is the contingency and the authority to do that was voted down in the CR when the Democrats themselves did it. So the president has lamented this. He has informed USDA and everybody. Do as best you can, but the money doesn't exist to do it. The simplest way to end the pain and the simplest way to make this stop is for the Democrats to do the obvious and right thing and vote for the nonpartisan funding measure so that we can turn everything back on. Then we will get back here, and then we will debate all these other extraneous issues. But right now, the first job of the government is to keep it in operation and take care of the people who depend upon all these services we've articulated today. It's nonsense, and it has to end, and you should be asking them the tough questions, why they're willing to inflict this pain on the people for their partisan political purposes. Yes, ma'am. ACA subsidy working group? Look, I'm not surprised that the conversations are turning up in earnest. I mean, when you're talking about the handful of centrists and moderates that are there, they feel the pressure of this. You have all the major unions now coming out, as we've noted, demanding that they do the right thing and get the paychecks flowing again. You have flights being delayed and canceled. It harms people on their nutrition and their food and everything else. And so this is not a surprise to us. We welcome them doing the right thing, but again, we don't have anything to negotiate because we didn't put any partisan Republican priorities on the CR at all. I don't have anything I can pull off of it to make it more palatable for them. So our urge and our plea to them is just do the darn right thing and open the government. And then we'll figure all the rest of these things out. We were always scheduled. We were always planning to have the debate about the COVID-era subsidies and all these other issues in October, November, December. The COVID-era subsidies don't expire until the end of December. There are all sorts of discussions going on about that, all kinds of ideas. I could give you dozens of them that have been collected just in the House Republican Conference. There needs to be massive reform. There need to be income caps. There needs to be the elimination of fraud, waste, and abuse in that program, which we think is rife in it, and many other things. So there's informal working groups going on as we speak. There's discussions being had amongst all the members. But we've got to get the lights turned back on here and get the services provided to the people so that we can come here and do the rest of the legislative job. Yes, ma'am.
Would you be willing to fund part of the government for the full year, as some of the senators are discussing, without a CR to open?
These rifle shot bills that you keep hearing about deviates from the goal. We have one singular purpose, and that is to reopen and fund the entire government. The Democrats do not get to shut down the government and then make the decision on who's more important than the other and which little thing they want to fund to relieve their own political pain. We have one purpose, and that is turn this thing back on. And all those other efforts are deviations, and it's political games. They're trying to cover their own tails now because they know they have inflicted this pain. I'm going to remind you again 14 times. I bring my chart in every day. I'll bring it back tomorrow because I want everybody to remember. Republicans have voted 14 times to fund the government, and the Democrats have voted 14 times to close it. They are imposing the pain, and now they're feeling a little pain themselves because people are starting to let them hear about it. They better do the right thing. That's all we can say. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Speaker, you mentioned today that the Senate's going to vote for the 15th time, and the Democrats are supposed to. The Senate's actually not voting today on the CR to fund the government. Do you agree with the Europeans' decision to let Democrats sit with this over the weekend? They're not voting today on the CR, so SNAP benefits are going to lapse. They're not taking that vote today.
Well, Leader Thune was pretty upset yesterday. We've all seen the video. Mad John on the floor, and it's appropriate. When we come in here and do these briefings, I can empathize with them because we're happy warriors. I like to come in and have a good time in press conferences and tell you good news and all of that. But this feels very much like in my state, Louisiana, is a hurricane state. It's like giving a briefing during a hurricane, a Cat 5 hurricane. Right before it hits shores. We put the sandbags around our homes and we board up the windows and we do everything we can to prepare, but we know the real pain is about to hit. And we feel helpless in doing anything about it. And that's the same emotion that we feel here at the podium and when we're on the floor. And Leader Thune let them have it yesterday because they were trying to play games, and we're just fed up with it. He's a very even-tempered, calm guy. I mean, I try to maintain the same demeanor, but it's infuriating to us. I'm not going to second guess his decisions on when they schedule the votes each time, but he's probably about had it with their nonsense. And when they tell him and they thumb their nose at him and give him, you know, and say other things that are, they like to drop the F-bomb now for fun, for emphasis apparently. When they tell him those things, he probably recognizes it's a futile effort. He realizes they're dug in, and they don't care. They're more afraid of the Marxist, socialist, far left in the party than they are the harm that they're going to cause the American people. That's a fact, and you need to make them try to refute that because they can't. I'm grateful again for our New York colleagues for holding their ground and standing guard as they do, and for being here. Thank you all so much.